was a time I'd grown so tired of life, and what a shame if I threw it all away. And I said life ain't hard until you get knocked out, but it don't care no matter what you say. Oh, there was a time I'd grown so tired of life, and what a shame if I threw it all away. Said life ain't hard until you get knocked.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, How to Quit Xanax in 92 Days. This video is all about step one, day one of the program. Okay, in this video, the first thing we're going to do is establish a starting point by doing a dose analysis. We're going to go through the action steps you need to take for step one, day one, to get from day one to day 15. And then we're going to talk about all the things that are going to make it a lot easier to get to day 16. So the first thing we need to do before we start anything, is to establish a dose, okay, a dose analysis, okay? And all I mean by that is we're going to establish how much you're taking per day, okay? How much you're taking per day, okay? And then after that, we're gonna go through a dose time analysis. And all that means is we're gonna go through how many times you're taking it per day. If you're taking it at different times of the day, we need to establish exactly what times you're taking exactly what doses at, and we can go from there. Okay, so we're here at the dose analysis for step one. Okay, so before anything else, what I need you to do right now is to grab a piece of paper and a pen. Pause the video and come right back. Okay, so you have your paper and you have your pen, right? Okay, so we're gonna be writing some things down in just a minute. Okay, so we need to establish a starting point. A starting point, okay, before we can start getting into the recovery process and breaking up the pills and all that kind of stuff, we need to know exactly how much you're taking. So think about that before you start, okay? We're gonna write down, I want you to write down pre-programmed dose at the top of the page, okay? I'm gonna write it down with you. Pre-program dose, okay? Pre-programmed dose. Okay, so what is your dose right now? How many milligrams do you take per day? And before you worry about the milligrams and all that kind of stuff, we'll get into that in just 1 second as a reminder, but remember that one entire bar of Xanax, okay, the classic Xanax, is 2 milligrams, okay? And generally people break it up into quarters, okay? So if you're taking 1/4 of Xanax, that's 0.5 milligrams of Xanax, okay? If you're taking half a Xanax, that is 1 milligram of Xanax, okay? That's 2/4, okay? And if you're taking 3/4, okay? That's 1.5 milligrams of Xanax. And then if you're taking an entire bar of Xanax, that is 2 milligrams of Xanax. So basically you need to just count up the pieces of Xanax that you're taking, the quarters that you're breaking up. Think about how many of those you're taking per day, even if it's at different times of the day. We're gonna do a time analysis in a moment. But remember, if you're taking them at different times of the day, think about those. Okay, we're gonna count that number up, okay? And we're gonna write it down at the top of the page. To make it easy for this video, I wanted to have a kind of a going example that we use all the way along. And it's gonna be easy for me because it's the same dose that I was addicted to before I started on the program. Before I started, I was addicted to 2 milligrams of Xanax, so just an entire bar of Xanax. I was splitting the dose up into an AM and a PM dose, okay? But the entire dosage I was taking per day was 2 milligrams. And that's gonna be the example that we're gonna be using from the very get-go, from the starting point, as an example, okay? So for you though, you have to think about how much you're taking, and then that's gonna be your starting point, okay? The starting point I'm gonna be using as an example on the page is gonna be what I started with when I started the program, and I was able to quit in 92 days, okay? So I'm gonna write down, for a starting point example, remember you're gonna write down what your current dose is, okay? My starting point was 2 milligrams, okay? It was an entire bar of Xanax. It was 4/4, okay? So I'm gonna write 2 milligrams at the top of the page, okay? 2. Okay, that's my 2 milligrams at the top of the page. Write down your total dosage in milligrams at the top of the page. Okay, so now that we've established your dosage in milligrams, okay, we need to establish our dose time. Okay, so some of you, I imagine I can only speak for myself, but some of you are going to be taking it at all different times. Some of you are going to be taking it multiple times a day. Some of you are probably going to be taking it once a day. Okay, the program's going to work the same. And I wanted to say something before I say anything else too, is regardless of the dosage that you're taking in Xanax, whether it's way higher or lower, obviously, than the 2 milligrams that we're using as an example, the program works exactly the same. Okay, that being said, I will say that it took me 92 days to successfully get off of 2 milligrams of Xanax, okay? So what I will say is that let's say you were taking double what I was taking. Let's say you were taking 2 bars of Xanax a day, and that's your addiction point. That's the part you need that much to get through the day. Then I would suggest it's going to take you twice as long to get off of the Xanax, okay? Because it's going to be taking you a lot longer to break it up, but the program will still work the same. I would just say it would probably take you 180 days, okay, or so to get off of 2 bars as opposed to 1 bar. But for everyone who's taking about 1 bar or less, this program should work for you in about 92 days. Okay, so let's establish our dose times, okay? So on the same sheet of paper we're going to be writing, I wrote dose time, okay? If you're taking it more than once a day, be dose times, okay? So for me, I was taking it twice a day, okay? So for my example, I'm going to use what I was doing. I would say 7 a.m. was my first dose. I was taking 1 milligram at 7 a.m. So I'm going to write down 1 milligram, 7 a.m. Okay. And then I was taking the second one at 3 p.m., okay? And it was another half of the Xanax. So it was 1 milligram at 3 p.m. So my dose times are 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. I was taking 1 milligram at 7, 1 milligram at 3. That makes a total of 2 milligrams of Xanax a day. So my starting point for the program is 2 milligrams of Xanax per day as our addiction point. Okay, so that same sheet of paper, okay, that we've been using, we have our pre-programmed dose, the dose you're addicted to right now, okay? And we have our dose times, okay? And like I said, if you're taking it 4 times a day, then you'd write down how much you're taking at all of those different times. If you're taking, whatever your situation is, that's what you're writing down on this page, okay? Now, the next thing I want you to do is we're going to make a big line underneath this, okay? Just like that. Okay, so on your paper, you're going to write right here, right underneath the line that we just made, you're going to write step 1, day 1. All right, so we have step 1, day 1 on the page. I want you to write action steps. I'm going to write it with you. Action steps. So these are action steps for day 1 and step 1, day 1, okay? Action steps. Okay? Step 1, day 1. We got our action steps. Okay, so let's get on with the big action steps for day 1. Okay, so for the first 15 days, this is step 1. For the first 15 days, we are going to make 3 major action steps. Okay, step 1. Okay, three major action steps is going to be for step 1. Okay, so what I want you to do on your sheet is we're just going to make a 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Real easy. We're just going to do a 1, 2. I just want you to make a 1, 2, 3 down your page. Okay, so we established your pre-programmed dose, okay, didn't we? Right? That's how much you're using right now. That's the amount that you need every day. Okay, that's your pre-programmed dose. Okay, so action step 1 for day 1. Action step 1 is we're going to cut your pre-programmed dose in half. All right, so we got pre-programmed dose up here, PPD, pre-programmed dose. I'm just going to put, next to number 1, I'm going to put cut PPD in half. All right, so we're going to put cut PPD in half. That's our pre-programmed dose, okay? Our action step, our first action step for step 1 is to cut that in half, okay? So in my example was 2 milligrams to start with. So next to cut PPD in half, I'm going to put 1 milligram. Okay, so take half of your pre-programmed dose, okay? And put that number right here. Okay, so the number we've established here, okay, for step 1, okay, that's your total amount of Xanax per day. Now we've already established different dose times. For me, I had 2 different dose times. Okay, so in my case, underneath number 1, I'm just going to write in my dose times, okay, and the new amount that I would be taking. Okay, so if I was starting with 2 milligrams, that was my pre-programmed dose. Okay, and then my new dose for step 1 is going to be to cut that in half. Okay, but I was taking it 2 different times a day, right? I was taking 1 milligram at 7 a.m. and I was taking 1 milligram at 3 p.m. Okay, but now I'm going to be taking those same times. I'm still going to be taking a dose at 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. Okay, but I'm going to be cutting that in half. Okay, so underneath that first line, okay, that's our daily dose. Okay, underneath that, I'm going to put in my 2 different doses in my case. If you had 3 different doses, you put in 3 different doses, all cut in half. Okay, so let's write those in. Okay, so I'm going to write in 7 a.m. / so it would be 0.5 milligrams. Okay, so I'd be taking a quarter. Okay, not a half. Okay, like I was taking. Okay, so 7 a.m., 0.5 milligrams. Okay, and that's the way I've written it there. Okay, and my second dose was 3 p.m. I was taking, my pre-programmed dose was 1 milligram at 3 p.m. Okay, now that's going to be 0.5 milligrams at 3 p.m. Okay, so I'm going to write in, same line, I'm just going to write in 3 p.m. and 0.5 milligrams. Okay, so that's the best way to cut the dose in half to start. So before we even get into the next two action steps for step 1, realize that the first action step you're taking is a drastic action. Okay, it's a drastic change. But I realize that the problem with that I was having, and the problem that most people that are addicted to Xanax are having, is that the Xanax, if you just take little pieces and you slowly chip away, it just takes forever to try to get off of it, and the addiction just never seems to go away. So by taking drastic action in step 1, by reducing the amount of benzo in your system and your bloodstream by half, it gives you a huge advantage moving forward in the program. Okay, so remember that before we get into the next 2 action steps, remember that the first line of action that we're taking is just to do with the Xanax, just to do with your dosage, okay? Is that we've established your starting dosage, we've established what time you're taking it, okay? And then the first step is just going to be to cut that number in half, okay? Is to cut the amount of Xanax that you're using in half. So step 1 comprises day 1 to day 15, okay? So for the first 15 days, you're going to take that dose that you were using, the pre-programmed dose, and you're going to cut that in half. So whatever dose you've established on day 1, okay, that is going to be your dose for the first 15 days. Okay, so let's get into the next 2 action steps that we're going to take here on step 1. Okay, so action step 2. Okay, action step 2 on your page here. Now these ones are really simple and really easy to remember, and I've already talked about them in the prior video. Okay. It is going to be number 2. I want you to write fun. Fun every day. Step 2, action step 2 for step 1, day 1. Action step 2 is fun every day. I want you to plan something fun every single day of the program, right? You're quitting Xanax. Oh, that's so horrible. It's not really that horrible. You can make a really nice day out of it. Okay, you can have something really nice to eat. You can go to a movie. You can go to the park. Okay, you can do a million things that are fun to do, and that is part of the program. That is action step 2. You are going to plan out and do something fun, not just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, all the way through the entire program. But we're just focusing on step 1 right now. Okay, we're going to focus on having fun every single day, and that is an absolute commitment that you have to make for the program. You're going to do something fun every single day. Okay, just like you're cutting into your Xanax, just like you're cutting the dose in half, you are going to cut your dose in half. That's action step 1. Action step 2 is going to be have fun every single day. Okay, and then action step 3, and you know how important this is here, okay? Okay, we already talked about what we're going to do with the Xanax dose. We talked about what we're going to do with your brain. We have to stimulate your brain by having fun, okay? And we need to stimulate your body as well, okay? And you know what I'm probably going to say, but I talked about it in the before you start video. It's exercise. Number 3 for your action steps for day 1 is exercise every day. I want you to write that under step 3, okay? Action step 3. We're going to write exercise every day, and I'm going to write that with you. Exercise every day. Action steps for step 1. We're going to cut our pre-programmed dose in half, and we're going to stick to that for 15 days. Step 2, we are going to have fun every single day of the program. And step 3, we are going to exercise every single day of the program. So for each step of the program, I want you to hold on to your paper here, okay? Because you can use it as a reference as you're going through your 15 days, okay? But we're going to do an individual sheet. We're going to do one individual sheet of paper for each step of the program. Now that we've established your action steps for step 1 in the first 15 days, I wanted to go through a few things that can just make the whole process a whole lot easier. Okay, so one of the first things I suggest in terms of making the whole program a little bit easier is just think about trying to map the whole thing out and plan out your exercise and plan out your day, plan out the fun things that you're going to do. Okay, so having a calendar where you can just write down all the different days and all the things that you're doing, okay, can kind of help. You can put a big red X through every single day that you're not using all the way to day 92, and that feels good too. But it also gives you an opportunity to write down some of the things you're planning in terms of having fun, wherever you're going to go, things you're going to do in the future, okay? Because I want you to plan out each day. This is 92 days of planning something fun. Doesn't have to be something necessarily new every day, but it's something specifically fun to do every single day of the program, okay? And that goes to the same for exercise, okay? So if it helps you to write down certain things like a class time or personal training or gym time or whatever, I want you to write that down into your calendar, okay? I want you to specifically write that down. And it can just be just get a calendar that's just very specific just for this program, okay? Just totally empty with just your plans for fun, exercise, and then cutting your Xanax. Okay, and then 2 of the other things that are going to make it a whole lot easier, I'll go into some other things as well, but 2 of the other things that are going to make it a whole lot easier are actually in your action steps, okay? Is that having fun, getting your brain stimulated, doing other fun things, okay? And then getting the exercise, okay? Getting that exercise into your body, okay? Those are action steps, but those 2 things are the hard thing on the action step is cutting the Xanax, is cutting that dose down. That's what's going to be a little bit harder for your body to get used to, okay? But the exercise and the fun is going to it's going to help to alleviate all of that negative, what I consider kind of a negative pressure, okay, from the withdrawal. It's going to help to alleviate a lot of those things. So 2 out of the 3 of the action steps are designed to make the whole program a whole lot easier. And as I said before, the first 5 or 6 days, right, are definitely the hardest, okay? That's when all of the withdrawal and things is probably going to be at its strongest for the entire 92 days, okay? So you have to kind of watch out for that. So step 1 is dangerous in that, okay, you are dramatically cutting down the amount you've been using. Whatever dose you're using, remember, you're just cutting it by half. Wherever you're at, You're cutting it by half, okay? And remember that Xanax is extremely strong, and it's very unlikely that your body is going to actually need that much drug to survive, okay? You're not going to die, okay? You're going to get some withdrawal symptoms. You might get some sleeplessness. You might get some headaches. You might get some runny nose. You might get all kinds of symptoms that you might get, okay? Expect that, okay, and be ready. And as I said, in terms of suggestions that I made these before. I'm going to make it again, okay? For step 1, I would try your best to have the first 3, if you can get the first 5 days off where you can go through this and be able to be in a relaxed atmosphere, okay, with nothing going on, then that's ideal. That's perfect, okay? But if you can't, try to get as much time off as you can in the beginning. Try to get a couple of weekend days, go through that first 2 or 3 days, okay? And then the whole program is going to start to get smoother and smoother as we go along. All right, so you have your action steps for the first 15 days of the program, okay? I want you to make sure you have fun, make sure you exercise, okay? And then make sure you're going to cut that Xanax dose in half for the next 15 days. I'll see you again on day 16.